Good morning. Today we are going to be talking about the NIH Clinical Center Office of Patient Recruitment for our Clinical and Translation Summer Course of 2021. My name is Omar Echegoyen. I am a patient recruiter for the NIH, and I have been in this office for almost 12 years working at the Office of Patient Recruitment. However, I've been at NIH for 30 years working in different positions. And today we are going to be talking about the Office of Patient Recruitment and all the services that we provide to our community. The objectives of this course is going to be the introduction to the NIH in our research, what we are doing at NIH, and the current state of recruitment, where we stand as a recruitment office, and what are the challenges and opportunities that we are having. Also, we are going to be talking about the development of a recruitment plan. This includes the assessments, a recruitment funnel that I'm going to be explaining to you, the strategies, the materials, the implementations, and the evaluations that we do in a recruitment plan. And at the end, we are going to be talking about the future is now. So let's start talking about the introduction to NIH in our research. As you know, the NIH is being called the House of Hope. And every time we receive calls from many participants to participate in clinical studies, they know NIH as the House of Hope. The reason we know this as the House of Hope is because there are so many wonderful things that we have been done at NIH, especially at the clinical center. To highlight some of the marvelous things that we have done at NIH, we have 27 institutes that work very hard in discovering new conditions, to cover many things that we have, discoveries that we don't have in other places in the world. So NIH constitutes 27 institutes and centers. At NIH, all the highlights that we have, all the discoveries, the NIH was started in July 6, 1953. We admitted the first patient at the clinical center. And you can see the list of all the advances that we have taken place at the clinical center. To highlight some of them, we have the first computerized hospital information system designed to facilitate clinical research. We have the use of the AZT and the first treatment for AIDS. As you can see, we have so many discoveries, we have so many highlights that's why NIH is being called the House of Hope. When participants call our center, we have many different trials, and these trials have different phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. During phase 1, we have very few participants, and this is the type of participants that we need sometimes to start with the phase 1. But however, we need more as the phase gets increased. We need more people to participate in these studies. Many of the phases, they have their own obstacles, and we are going to be talking about the obstacles that we have in the different phases that we have in these clinical trials. We have the protocols by research and type. We have the interventional clinical trials that we have, like 50% of these are studies. That includes 75 in the number that we have. The natural history, we have 44%. The screening, we have 4%. And training, we have 2%. That constitute like 1,534 research by type. We also have interventional clinical trials by phase. On phase 1, we have small groups with the first humans. As you know, these trials, they start with the animals first, but then we move on to start with humans. And then this is our phase 1. That it constitutes like 33%. Phase 2 is a larger group that constitutes a 61% of the population. So when we start increasing the development, the research, this moves to the phase 3, and that when we become like 5%, and the phase 4 is the risk benefit is 1%. So this is the numbers that we have obtained from all the research that they have been done here at the NIH. In the report that we have in 2020, we inform the clinical center management the admissions. As you can see, the admissions in 3 years, the admission has been increasing. The new patients it decreased a little bit because we have repeat patients that come to NIH and they participate in clinical studies. The inpatient dates, we have 42%. We have the inpatient dates mean that number of days that the patients will be staying in the hospital participating in clinical studies. That number increased by almost 1,000 in 2019. The average length to stay in the hospital is 9 days and 9.3. So the outpatient visits, we have more outpatient visits, outpatient meaning that the potential volunteers do not have to stay, they just come and they leave the same day. So the NIH Clinical Center had 35,855 queries about clinical trials in the 2009 fiscal year. So that means that our office, we have a contact center that we receive all these calls. All these calls that we try to accommodate all the calls to and look for studies that would be helpful for the participants. 35,855 calls seems like a small number, but our staff, we try to, with the staff of 5 people, and sometimes we do more, try to accommodate this call. These calls includes international calls that we use some different languages. We have a system, Seracom, where we have a translation. Some of our agents speak other languages like Spanish, French, Chinese, and some of them speak Russian. So when we come to get international calls, we have some people in our staff that can take this call. So, but the big number is 35,855. Every year, the number increases in participation. So now with the COVID-19 that we had, the calls have decreased a little bit because it was with the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic, many of our studies were put on hold. So the number of calls was reduced in 2020, but we are going to see an increase again once the pandemic is over. We have different types of volunteers. We have the patient volunteers and we have the healthy volunteers. And the difference between the patient volunteers are the ones who have a medical condition, and they are the ones who are looking for a study where their condition has been studied, like diabetes, cancer, and other types of medical conditions. These conditions, we have many studies that we accommodate the patients to participate in the study. However, many of the patients do not participate because of the inclusion criteria. Each study has what's called the inclusion-exclusion criteria, and many of the patients do not make the cut to participate in the study. However, we take their names, we take all their information, and we try to accommodate their needs in a different time when another study becomes available, and they can make the cut, and they can have a very inclusion-exclusion criteria that they can make that cut to participate in the study. For healthy volunteers, we have a pool of more than 135,000 in our registry. So the healthy volunteer participation is really important because we have a lot of studies that are looking for healthy volunteers. And in these studies, there are many things that they do with healthy volunteers. And one of them is to compare a healthy volunteer with a person with a medical condition. So sometimes the regulations, the inclusion criteria is very strict for healthy volunteers. But we always happy to take the information of a healthy volunteer because we know that we are going to use them in a certain point. For healthy volunteers, we don't limit to young people. We don't limit ourselves to young. Healthy people can be as a baby can participate in study. And we have many studies that they are taking babies as young as 3 months old. So it's very important that we have a registry up to date. And also it's very important that we have a registry up to date. So when we receive inquiries about a study that are looking for healthy volunteers, we go to our registry and try to pull that information to provide the number of healthy volunteers that will be, that can participate in their studies. So healthy volunteers is a very important, important factor for us to accommodate all the needs that each study has. The healthy volunteer registry that we have that services for all the institutes. So each institute, they always ask us to provide a list and they give us the parameters. Let me give you an example. Sometimes they are looking for males 18 to 35 years old, non-smokers with a BMI meaning the body mass index, less than 25. So we know that we are looking for healthy volunteers, a very strict inclusion criteria. So, but we do have those numbers in our registry, so we are able to pull that information from our registry. So this is the two types of volunteers that we have. Patient volunteers, they come from different parts of the world. They come from Latin America, they come from Europe, they come from Africa, Asia, Middle East. We have international patients here at the NIH. If the institute is willing to pay for their travel, if they are willing to accommodate them, then we can bring them to the NIH. For healthy volunteers, it's more rare to bring somebody from other states because we know that we can get healthy volunteer from our area with 15 miles. That will be something that we can bring a healthy volunteer. So at the NIH, we have two types of volunteers who participate in clinical studies. And some of them are patient volunteers, some of them are healthy volunteers. The patient volunteers are the ones who are looking for a study, a clinical trial that is going to fill their needs. That includes people with a medical condition that can be cancer, diabetes, or other type of condition that they are looking for a cure or treatment that is not given in nowhere. Only by participating in a clinical study, they can get those treatments, specific treatments that they are looking for. And patient volunteers, we have international patients that they come from different parts of the world. We come from Latin America, they come from Europe, they come from Middle East, Africa, anywhere. They come from different parts of the world. And if the institute who is recruiting for patients is willing to bring them, is willing to pay for the travel, then we can bring those patients here to NIH. For healthy volunteers, is less intense because we have a registry, more than 135,000 people in our registry. And every time a healthy volunteer call our lines, we offer the opportunity, we ask them if they would like to participate in the future as a healthy volunteer. So if they say yes, then we include them in our registry. And we have a small form that we ask questions for the future information about them, and they can call us every day to see if they can participate in a study for healthy volunteers. Healthy volunteers, however, we don't bring them from other states. Healthy volunteers, usually we get them locally from the Washington metropolitan area, and we usually get what we need. And with our registry, we can have the number of healthy volunteers needed for the study. The question is, what does the recruitment scene looks like now? We have recruitment difficulties. We have the cost of advertising, seeking no cost to outlets, appealing to potential volunteers, and reaching target audience. Let's start with the difficulties that we have with the recruitment. As you know, many studies are looking sometimes for very specific population. Let's say they are looking for African-American females, 18 to 45 years old. You may say that it would be easier to get the number of healthy volunteers, African Americans, but we find out that the difficulties in that population is really hard to get. The reason it's really hard to get is because many in the African American community, there is a resistance to participate in clinical studies. And we try to break the ice, we try to gain their trust and try to educate them to see how these studies are going to help them. The same happened with the Latin American population. When we are looking for Latinos to participate in the clinical study, we have difficulties as well. I myself, I am Latino, and I participate in many health fairs to talk to them, to educate them. Every time I talk to them, they start asking me questions. So what is to participate in a clinical study? Why should I participate? And when I share the information that we have, why they need to participate, they didn't know the information I'm providing to them. So there are some recruitment difficulties right now, and most of the ones that we see at NIH is the coming to NIH because it has been very difficult going through the process of security now, and many of the studies also, they are looking for the number of visits to come to participate in a study has increased from I will say 10 visits, that's a lot. And sometimes the participants, they consider, it's worth it to participate. With the compensation I'm getting, is it worth it to take some time from my work to participate in a study? So in order for us to accommodate them, we recommend to the teams who are trying to get these participants to accommodate them in the time that they have available, like weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, and sometimes they can accommodate them accordingly to their schedule. The other thing that we have is for healthy volunteers, we have tried to give them a pass so they don't go through the security offices as often. They have their own pass, NIH ID, as a healthy volunteer, so their access to NIH is easier. People with children and mothers with children, when they want to participate in studies, we try to accommodate their children. We have a school for the children inside of NIH. We have a daycare center. We have many facilities that will accommodate their children while their parents participate in a clinical study. So we have many amenities for our participants when they participate. One of the attractions to participate in a clinical study, you may say maybe compensation is money, but not all the time money will make a difference. Sometimes as a patient recruiters, we try to highlight why you should participate in a clinical study. We as recruiters, we participate ourselves in clinical studies, and we try to understand, and we try to see what areas we can learn from the clinical study. And I myself have learned so many things about my own body that I didn't know before. So when I know that, I share that information with a potential volunteer, say, hey, if you participate in a clinical study, you will be able to know more about yourself, to know more about your condition. If you have a high risk of heart condition, if you have a high risk of liver condition. So there's many things that you find out when you participate in a clinical study. So that is one of the things that we share to our volunteers when they participate. So the difficulties are there, but we are trying to overcome all the difficulties that we have when it comes to recruiting. The cost of advertising. Many of the studies that we prepare plans for to advertise their study, many of these campaigns are free. There is no cost because we have many outlets that we use to disseminate the information that they are looking for, of the volunteers that they're looking for. But many times these avenues of free avenues that we have do not work. So we need to find out what else we can do. So that's when it comes to cost of advertising. There are many other tools that we use, but that means that the institute, they had to put some money in advertising costs. That would be probably Google Ads, some media in newspapers. And as you know, advertising cost has increased in the last 10 years. So to advertise in a newspaper, it will probably, a small ad will cost like $5,000. And now advertising in the metro, in the buses, that would be probably, we are talking about a campaign of $25,000 to $30,000 per campaign. So thus many of the institutes do not have the budget to advertising. So we are trying to see how we can get these participants with less cost and with all the free avenues, with all the free advertising that we have available. And also, that's why we're seeking more no-cost outlets. We are seeking every time, we are always looking, putting our eyes to see what avenues will be, what outlets are free. And we contact radio, we contact the TV if they have a free space for us to put an ad there for a clinical study. And sometimes we do have avenues that we have increased the number of outlets in the past 5 years. And what's appealing to potential volunteers? Appealing to potential volunteers will be what I'm going to learn from this study. Is there a good compensation? And one of the studies that I can highlight that is really, really appealing to parents is from the NIDCR, the dental study. The dental study offers to extract the wisdom tooth from young people. And as you know, even with your dental insurance, out of pocket, you have to pay almost $3,000. So many parents are very, very are open to put their children to participate in this wisdom tooth extraction. And it's very appealing to them because NIH is offering this study. They remove the wisdom tooth at no cost to them. So we are talking about a saving of almost $3,000 for the parents. So this study is a very popular study. Another study that is very popular is when we provide some type of test that only NIH can offer. We have the state-of-the-art equipment at NIH, and there is no place in the world that these people are going to get these tests more accurate than NIH. So that appeals to the potential volunteers. And we as recruiters, we try to highlight those points. And how do we reach our target audience? The way that we reach our target audience is by looking, study what they are looking for. If the study is looking for males 50 years old and older, we try to see what areas where this population gets their information. So as you know, male 50 probably will say a newspaper, because many of the old people, I will say, well, I will say old, but I'm more than 50, right? The thing is, they still get the newspaper. So we try to put newspapers appealing to this population. We try to target population by putting different ads on magazines that they visit, and all the segments in the newspapers that they read. The same with, we go to the social media, and we try to understand where this population will get more of their information. So we try to put ads on those social media outlets. So that's the way that we reach our target audience. In the recent research, we have a public awareness of the clinical research. We have many attitudes and barriers. The attitudes that we have is that they are fear about the clinical research. And many times we heard the words guinea pigs or lab rats. Many people don't like to, they say, I don't want to be a guinea pig. I don't want to be a lab rat. But sometimes when we hear those terms, we try to explain to them that the research is really important for other people in the future. So the attitude of being the guinea pig has changed when we educate the people about clinical studies. In some populations, like I will say the Latino, the African American, there is some type of suspicion and mistrust of the medical experiments. So we also try to provide helpful information how participation in a clinical study is going to help their population. It's going to help, like, let me give you an example. When we have a heart, we know the African American population, they have many heart conditions, many, and we do have many studies for heart conditions, and we try to explain to them how these studies are going to help them. In the Latino community, we have many studies for diabetes, the fatty, non-alcoholic, non-fatty liver disease. And we also try to explain to this population that participating in these studies is going to help them to understand more about their condition, or some condition that they may get in the future because of their errors in their population. The barriers that we have to participate, we hear many times, people say, I don't have the time. Language is another barrier, because many, like the National Institute of Mental Health, all their questionnaires that they have are in English. So, and they don't want somebody translating for them, translating for a potential volunteer. These questionnaires, because the answer has to be very precise, and they don't want anybody to influence their answers. So language is a barrier that we're trying to see how we can accommodate. However, we have many other studies. They are bringing people that they don't speak English, and they have a translation office at the clinical center where they accommodate their language, their understanding of the participation in clinical study. Transportation, we see many studies that they offer transportation from airports. They can bring them home. We have childcare, and we also have limited awareness of participating in a clinical study, and we have also the access. We try to make access to NIH more efficient. So putting a healthy volunteer, providing them with a badge, like to access NIH is good because they don't have to go to security all the time when they come to NIH to participate. The reasons for patients, volunteers participate, we gather some information from a survey, and this is one of the latest information we have. The reasons people participate, one of the highest was the early treatment did not work. It will not cost extra money. Doctors recommended it. It could help others. It will not take extra time or money. Promise not to receive a placebo. Will get paid right in. So those are the numbers that why people participate in a clinical study. So if you have any other, if you see any other reasons, you can let us know to see what another condition, another reason to participate, and we can add this to this list. So we have partners in research. We're trying to, as a patient recruiters, we try to go to our communities to be partners in research. I myself have gone to many free clinics that offer services to the community. One of the clinics is the Mercy Clinic, that is a mobile clinic in different areas in Washington, D.C., in Frederick, in Maryland, Virginia, and they move. So I visit them and I get many, I provide many information to these communities. We go to libraries, public libraries, we go to fire stations, we go to different places to try to get these partners in research, because as more our network increases, the more people we're going to have in this participating, and more people are going to know. One of the partners that I recently made contact with, and I believe it was really good with the Latino community, was with people of leaders of churches. They invite me to talk, to give a talk to the leaders from different churches. And I believe that was a very effective way to have partners in research. The reason is because many people listen to their leaders. So especially in the church. So when we tell them, hey, we can help you, we can help your community. We have alcohol studies, we have drug studies, we have studies for cancer, studies for the eyes. And then every time their congregants come to them and say, hey, Pastor, I do have cancer, how can you help me? So the information I provide them, I leave my number, so I get many calls from different people who go to churches because they hear from their leaders in their church. So it's really important to have partners in research, and to, as much as we would like to have, we try to go to different areas. And now with the COVID-19, one of my colleagues, they went to Bread of the City in Washington, D.C., where they were offering the COVID-19 vaccine for free. So she was invited to go there, and she was able to go there to give some information to those people if they would like to participate in the COVID-19 studies that we have at NIH. So it's really important, I believe, having bridges with other institutions in our community helps a lot. Hello, today we are going to start talking about the Clinical Center, Office of Patient Recruitment, and the services that we provide as a community in the community to participate in clinical studies. In this segment, we are going to talk about the cycle of the recruitment process. The recruitment process have a cycle, and start with the assets of the offer. What do I mean by assets of the offer? We assess the offer when an institute, the institute, they come to our office looking to help them to recruit their population. So we assess the offer, we say, yes, we can help you. And we define what they are looking for, define the audience. We develop templates for them, When I say develop templates, we develop all the flyers, we develop ads, we develop public service announcements, and all this, we put a package together for them for the Institutional Review Board, the IRB, to review all these language pictures that we're going to use in social media, in campaigns that we're going to do for them. We try to develop these templates for them. We also develop strategies that are going to be helpful. And we try to, these strategies has to be accordingly to what they are looking for. The production of the materials, we also help to get these materials produced. If once they are IRB approved, we try to bring them to production. Like if they need a business card, if they need postcards, if they need different things that they need, we try to help them to produce these materials. After the materials are created, we do the implementation of the strategies. Implementation meaning that we take like a week to implement all the strategies that we have available. That includes, we do a blast emails, we do social media, we try to do everything within a week. So it's going to target in once at a time to all the population that we're looking for. After we do the implementation, tracking is really important because we track all our outlets to see if the implementation that we use work. So tracking social media is really important. Tracking emails, a blast email, it's really important for us to reuse that strategy for other studies. If we know that this strategy is not working, we try to modify the strategy and try to accommodate all our efforts to get the population that we are looking for. So, and the same cycle repeats to all the studies. So no matter what the need is, we try to follow this cycle. Developing a recruitment plan. We, as I say, we assess the offer, we define the audience, recruitment, we have a recruitment funnel that I will be explaining what the recruitment funnel looks like. We develop strategies accordingly to what we are looking for. If we're looking for babies, we're looking for old people, if we're looking for young people, if we're looking for women, men, we develop the strategies accordingly. The production of materials, we try to make this as less expensive for all the institutes because many of them do not have the budget to put a lot of money in their recruitment efforts. The implementation, we try to do it, as I said, we try to do it within 1 week to make all this one effort and to target at one time. We try to track and modify, and at the end, we are going to evaluate all our efforts of recruitment. The needs of assessment. We learn about the disease in the protocols. Every time we receive a request, as a recruiter, we try to understand the study, what they are doing. We read all the consents. We read all the information that the study has. So when we have questions, it's easier for us to develop all the materials that are needed for this study and what we're looking for. The main thing here is to put all our materials are in plain language. Many of the materials that we read are very technical, are very, many doctors probably would be easier for them to understand. But we know that these materials are going to go to people outside of NIH who they want to participate. So we try to accommodate the language to probably 4th, 6th grade level reading and try to make us more plain as we can so people understand what we are looking for. We target our audience here in Bethesda, in Washington, D.C. We try to target our audience, and we have only here in our population, we have a different variety of the audience. Some of them, they understand quickly. Some of them are more resistant to participate. We try to make, as more as we can. We also try to get a sense of what we are recruiting of the study. We find out what recruitment has been conducted in the past and the results of those strategies. And also we look for any past recruitment materials and messages. If something worked, we don't reinvent the wheel. We use the same strategy and try to modify a little bit for future use. We also begin relationship with the primary investigator and the research team. This is really important for us to establish this relationship with the primary investigator and the team, all the contacts that we have, because when we have a question, we go to the primary investigator, and sometimes the primary investigator, they give us a better understanding of what they are looking for. Sometimes it's really, we don't understand completely, but the PI is really good in providing their knowledge to us so we can understand what they are looking for. How we assess we assess our queries, all the services that we provide. The clinical investigator, we know what's the motivation of the clinical investigator, the barriers that they have, and the benefits that their study is going to offer. The target audience, we know that we talk about patients and the healthy volunteers, so we know what we are looking for. If we're looking for patients, if we are going to target the physicians, because we know that physicians in our area are going to help us to bring more potential volunteers. And we also get the community going, like I was telling you before about churches. We go to health events, and we go to universities to propagate the information that we have to how to participate in a clinical study. How do we assess the patient? We also find out about the details of the study. We read the consent, as I was saying, we read the consent. What's the purpose of the study? What is required of the patient? What is required of the health volunteer? What is the role of the study? I am healthy. Many people, when they call us, they say, I would like to participate in a healthy volunteer study, but when we start asking, do you have any medical condition? They say, yes, I have depression, I am overweight. But at that point, we know that these people are not healthy. But we try to accommodate their needs to studies. We have smokers, and so many smokers and drinkers, they say, yeah, I'm healthy, and they want to participate in a clinical study. But we try to not to make it harsh to say, no, you cannot participate. We just try to, to facilitate other studies for them to participate. And we also try to explain why the study is going to benefit to them directly, and how the study is going to benefit others. Probably it's not going to benefit them, but probably their family members, probably their community or their friends is going to benefit others. What are the risks of the study? We have many invasive studies, and we also try to explain to them what an invasive study looks like. An invasive study can be some blood draw or repeat blood draws or tapping of their spinal, the spine. So there's many studies that we have. We need to explain to them about the risk of the study. But the nurses also, when they participate, they go over with the consents and try to explain to them about all the risks about participating in the study. The risks are minimum because many of the studies are providing the minimum risk to the patient. So in rare cases, we have people with other side effects when they participate in clinical study. We also tell them what the discomforts are when they participate in the study, the inconveniences. They investigate the reputation of the organization. For us, we are very lucky to have NIH as the organization because many people believe in us. So we know that NIH has been very respectful organization and many people would like to participate in clinical studies. Many of the participants, they told us that they would like to discuss with their physicians, and that's perfectly fine because their physicians are the ones who help us to get these patients to participate in a clinical study. Also, they have discussed participation in the study with those who are important to me, such as my family, my friends, and other people in the community. And the last question is, do I wish to participate in the study? So that's their final, and we don't force anybody. We don't say you need to participate. No, it's up to their decision. And even when they participate in a clinical study, if they want to stop the study in the middle, they can do that. So we don't force them to complete. We don't make them feel bad that they did not complete the study. They are the ones who rule the study. They always, if they started, if they want to stop, they can do that. So it's really good about they have the control when they participate in the study. The situational analysis that we have many samples, variables. We have what about the study makes it more or less difficult to recruit patients. Sometimes we have a disease, chronic, terminal. We have many different studies. As many studies sometimes are very hard to get the population. And when we get a very hard population, then we are looking for different strategies that we can use to attract the participants to participate. And also we are looking, we try to go over our states to get probably other states, the 50 states in the United States. If we need to, we discussed that with the PI if the study is willing to pay for travel to bring those patients from as far as from California, Washington State, or other states in the Midwest. So sometimes we are successful in getting the PI, trying to get these patients, and we are successful in getting these participants. The target audience, we have many demographics. We have age, race, gender, condition, disease, and we have different areas, the inclusion, exclusion criteria, what we are looking for. The geographic area, we have places here in Washington, D.C. is really good because we have many, it's a very populated area where we can get our potential volunteers quickly. And also which healthcare professionals are most likely to treat people with this disease. We try to tell them that although they have their own personal doctors, when they participate in a clinical study, they can find out more about their condition. When we are looking for a participant with a medical condition, let's say like we are looking for a rare condition. As you know, rare condition, there are few people that have that condition. And at that point, we have the strategy of doing a funnel, recruitment funnel. What is a recruitment funnel, you may ask? Well, the recruitment funnel is an educated guess of how many people we need to reach to satisfy enrollment needs of the team. We find the disease prevalence, the incidence, and we use the CDC, we use the statistics from other institutions that they keep track of the medical condition. We use also the census data of Maryland, Virginia, DC, and all this census data is going to help us to create a more educated guess about what we are looking for. This is an example of the recruitment funnel. We have the example of asthma. We know that incidence is estimated at 74.4%, and 1,000 children are diagnosed with asthma each year. So with the census information in Maryland, we know that there are 1,139,572 children ages 5 to 18 years old. So when we use this data, we start doing some math, and we came out that the total number that children with asthma is like 198,339 that they may have asthma, or they may have a condition that they may develop asthma in the future. So this is our educated guess when we use our funnel. And this asthma example that I have is really good because we are looking for, we know that we can get our target audience, because sometimes the study is only looking for 200 people, and we know that we have 198,000 people, 339. So we know that we can get our target audience within our area. But there are others that are harder to get, because asthma is a very common condition, but more rare conditions, the harder it gets. The recruitment funnel example, here you can say that the need with disease is 48,000. The expected contacts that we have is 2,400. Who will pass the initial screen of the study? Probably 600. And the total enrollment that we need is 60. So we put our math together and try to see if we can get our audience by the data that we get from our funnel. The 7 ways people learn about clinical trials, the media is really important for us to communicate or disseminate the information about participation in clinical studies. We have the internet, which is number 1. Social media has become very popular for young people and also for all people. The media is second. We have blast emails that we have. We have a registry of more than 56,000 people who willingly give us their emails to send them emails to them. So 32% of our recruitment efforts go by email. The research ads, we have doctors, word of mouth from doctors, from friends, and also the mailing is another way to learn about clinical studies. And this information was obtained by the Center for Information and Study on Clinical Research Participation. So the strategy development, we choose available recruitment outlets based on population, reach, cost, and availability. The social media, Facebook. The listserv is the one I was talking to you, that we have more than 75,000 people who have registered to our listserv. The listserv is a very great tool for us to disseminate information. And now with the CMS, which is the text message that you receive in your cell phone, has put, every time we send an email, it goes to their text messages in their cell phones. So our reach is very great. And the response that when people receive these messages is immediate. We warn our agents in our contact center every time we send a listserv about a study, because we know that the listserv is going to work in less than 5 minutes. People start calling. They want to participate in the study. And listserv is a really good tool that we have available. The newspaper is less effective, but it's a good tool to have. Community mailings like grocery centers, clinic libraries, another tool that is good to have, but it's not as effective as social media and the listserv. When we provide some advice to the primary investigators and the teams about budget, we also try to explain to them what is going to be their cost. There's going to be some money involved, and when media placement, the publicity, the community outreach, the internet placement, special events, contact center, production. But at the same time, we try to offer them what's free. What is free, and most of the time, the primary investigators say, please try the free stuff first. And then if worse comes to worse, then we are going to move on to get some money aside for placement in a pay ad that we can consider with your advice. Producing materials is when we produce materials, our team gets together to do a brainstorm ideas and how to be creative. We don't just throw ideas to, crazy ideas. We just put our ideas together and we try to be creative, how to attract people. So if we are looking for babies, we know that we are going to be targeting their parents, and targeting their parents, we try to explain to them how their baby is going to help in research. Many of the parents are not willing to put their baby to go through a trial, but I have an example where the PI used her own baby in an ad in the poster. So she put her baby in the ad, and that really works because people knew that was her baby. So the trust was there. She said the PI, the primary investigator, for her baby, her own baby in the study, we can also do that. So brainstorming and be creative is really important in this business about patient recruitment. We develop all the ads, we develop all the strategies, we develop all the campaigns, but they had to be IRB approved before we start implementing all our ideas. And after we do that, we brainstorm again to see if everything works. And then if after brainstorming, we modify what didn't work, what worked, and we try to assess and to evaluate what really worked. The messages and the materials, they had to be, the IRB has to approve them. We follow all the IRB guidelines that we have, and we work very close with the IRB to see what they are looking for. Materials and strategies are submitted to the IRB for approval, and they are really quickly. They can do an expedite review, and within 3-4 business days, they review the materials. Sometimes they have a lot of materials to review, and that probably takes more than a week. But usually the IRB is really good here at NIH when they try to review all the materials submitted to them for review. We try to keep all the materials as simple, with simple, plain language, and we consider the audience that we are looking for. And we also try not to use the message as a media discussion of risk or something that is going to cause some conflict within the community. We also try to, what's the purpose of the ad? To stimulate the first contact, for them to call us. So there are so many things to put when we develop these materials. There's many thoughts that we put into place. The messages in the materials, we name the disease, so we have a brief purpose of the study, the eligibility criteria, the contact information consistent with consent. So we strive to make messages creative and attention grabbing, and we are also very specific on the study population. So the messages are really important when it comes to recruit participants. The implementation, when we implement all the materials that have been IRB approved, we do a planning and timeless. We try to work within a week. And we know that planning is really important, because if we are going to do a campaign during a holiday, let's say like Christmas comes, other holidays which we know that people are not reading social media, or we don't plan to do advertisement, but when we know when would be a good time to do the planning and the timeless, we try to put those ads on those times, so can people look more. As more eyes they see the ad, more people response is going to be. We go a small versus large, and we repeat the study. And apparently when you put a newspaper ad, it says that when you put the ad 3 times within the week or within 2 weeks, people start noticing about the ad. The first time they don't notice, the second time they don't notice, but the third time is the charm, when people start looking at your ad. So, and we also continue the evaluation of the ads that we place in different outlets. How would we track the effectiveness of how this has been effective. We compare the results, the goals and the objectives, the number of inquiries that we get in our contact center. We get a number of calls and we can trace that, how many calls we got for that specific study that we were doing the campaign. We do the source of inquiries. We can pull reports from our database, and also we can know how many patients were enrolled with a certain time. And that information is provided to the management at the clinical center, because at the end, that is the factor that is going to provide us the funds to continue our office in the patient recruitment. There are other considerations about production, participation assistance, incentives, compensation, retention. So these are the considerations to participate in a study. Is the study going to compensate? It's going to, retention is really important, because many people start the study, but they don't complete the study. So retaining the participant to participate in other studies is really important. We're still growing. We still have many other channels and things that we need to explore. One other thing that I want to highlight is Research Match. Research Match is a tool that we have that was developed at Vanderbilt University, and we are partners with them. And Research Match, we offer training how to use it, and it's a really powerful tool. We also have, as you know, we have our own social media at the clinical center. We have, in this one, we have Facebook. Our clinical center has Facebook, has Twitter. So we use these tools to put our ads there, and it's a very effective tool. So there we have other sources. The other sources that we have, that when we do not have a study, we try to also accommodate our callers by sending them to clinicaltrials.gov, because clinical trials is information that they can find other studies in other medical institutions around the world, not only here in the United States, but in the whole world. So clinical trial has been a resource that we provide to a participant when we do not have a study. However, we have many times we try to get their information. So in the future, if a study opens at NIH, we try to bring them back to NIH. So Research Match, as I was saying, we have volunteers. If you notice here in Research Match, we have 152,972 volunteers already registered, and you can take advantage of this tool by doing a research, by using it and get the target audience that you are looking for your studies. The final thoughts about this presentation is that we try to make a trust with the community. The trust that we're trying to make them is not just a trust of, hey, you're going to be our volunteer. No, the trust is that we are going to use them in the future for other studies, and we try to make them comfortable as more we can to participate in study. And we also try to make a relationship with them, to be their friends, to understand their condition, to empathize with their condition, and try to make a relationship, because we don't know if we're going to be in the same shoes in the future. So we're trying to make the best for them to participate, and also their time. Their time is very valuable to participate in the studies. So we always consider their time, and we are trying to accommodate their time whenever they would like to participate. And if you have any other questions, we are here to help you, to serve you. You can send us your requests if you are looking for to develop a campaign to obtain some potential volunteer for your studies. This is our information, and you can find us at this main number and emails there, and we will be glad to help you. Thank you.